Shri Harish Agarwalji, President of IEEMA, Shri Anil Saboo, President IEEMA, Shri R.K. Chugh and Mr. Vipul Rai, Vice Presidents of IEEMA, our very good old Mr. Sunil Mishra, DG IEEMA, who is almost a member of our power team, Odisha now, my colleague Sadiq Alam, representatives from leading manufacturers, electrical equipment manufacturers association IEEMA, and my senior colleagues from Energy Department, CRIPCO, OPTCL, all the four distribution companies, OPGC, OHPC, and other invited delegates. First and foremost, I extend a very warm welcome once again to the senior team from IEEMA, including the President and other senior office bearers, who have accepted our invitation to organize an executive committee meeting as well as a buyer seller meet at Bhubaneswar. And I would say it is being organized at an opportune moment, at a moment in time when we have witnessed one of the greatest exercises in post-natural disaster restoration of critical infrastructure in our country. How this meeting came about, why we are here today on this occasion, I am sure that our DG and President must have informed you, but even at the cost of repetition, I would like to take you through one or two incidents which actually enabled this meeting today. My colleague Sadiq has given you a very wide description, a very detailed analysis of how it was possible for us to manage such a huge effort, to mount an effort of this scale and magnitude in a very short period of time, in extremely adverse weather conditions, inhospitable terrain, and with all the difficulties which even in normal circumstances electrical work is required to face. In such a situation, how we were able to mount an effort of this scale and magnitude and achieve reasonable amount of success here, very ably explained to you. I would just touch on some of critical learning points. What is it that we can use this episode as a learning experience, both on the part of administrators, distribution utilities, and on the part of electrical equipment manufacturers? What does it indicate to us as a template? Can this be used as an example for future? And what lies ahead for us, particularly in Odisha and in Eastern India, in terms of growth and development of the power transmission and distribution industry? Now, Odisha is prone to natural disasters. Entire eastern coast of India suffers recurrent natural disasters, most importantly cyclones, tropical cyclones, and floods. Northeast India also suffers recurrent floods. Several parts of East Coast, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, some parts of even West Coast, Kerala, Gujarat, Maharashtra, they are all vulnerable to recurrent natural disasters. These disasters have been increasing in frequency as well as ferocity, which means that we have experienced in the last 2 decades or so that the number of these events are increasing in frequency. We are having more frequent cyclones and floods. We are also experiencing that with every episode of flood and cyclone, the ferocity, the strength with which it hits us, the episode hits us, is also increasing. Now people say that probably it is related to global warming, climate change, or there must be some reason in which needs to be analyzed in scientific terms why this is happening, why this frequency is increasing, why this velocity is increasing. But keeping that apart, for us in this room who are dealing with power transmission and distribution, this has certain important portents. I mean, we need to acknowledge this as an important parameter of our work. Whether I am an administrator, Sadiq is a CEO of a distribution company, we have other MDs of distribution companies here, we have officers from government, OPTCL, finance, HR, and you are all electrical equipment manufacturers. For us, this is something which we cannot lose sight of. Like we respond to several other happenings in our country. When we know that 5 years from now there is going to be an election, we know that every year there will be a budget, we know that power systems will undergo a technological change, advancement every 5 to 10 years, technology will change, manufacturing practices will change, procurement practices will change. These are situations which we are used to respond to. For instance, I am sure that IEEMA would respond to some of the interventions which the union budget has brought out. You are supposed to respond to it, you are supposed to react to it, you are supposed to make changes in the way you work, organize your business with these happenings. My suggestion is that recurrent natural calamities is something which is another parameter to which we must learn to respond in newer ways as we go forward, because this is something which is likely to happen, which is happening on a more frequent scale. So that is the first learning point which we have, and that is why we are having this meeting. See, normally meetings between manufacturers and procurers keep happening, but the reasons are different. Reasons are to look into what is my business plan, what is my transmission plan, what is my distribution plan. Do we have sufficient capacity in the country to cater to the requirements of an emerging power transmission and distribution sector? These are our normal modes of engagement. Today, we must acknowledge that an important engagement between procurers and manufacturers must be how to respond to an emergency situation. That is something which is very important. It is as important for us in government as it should be important for you in the private manufacturing sector. That is the first point. And I am sure that IEEMA within its executive committee, amongst its members, would acknowledge this as one of the important parameters of our engagement. Now, what is the difference between an emergency situation and a normal situation? Normal situation is, in Odisha, I have a budget of about 3,000 crores per annum. Other states might be having even larger or smaller budgets. We go with procurement. Some states it is handled well, some other states may not be handled so well. There are occasions where we need to improve this engagement also. Our normal procurement practices should improve, they should become more modern, they should become more transparent, and it should lead to a general satisfaction, sense of satisfaction in both partners, the procurers as well as manufacturers. In a normal situation, this becomes more acute. There is no known format, no known template, no rules and regulation available in a situation when 2 lakh poles are required in 2 to 3 days, or 10,000 distribution transformers are to be procured immediately, or 30,000 kilometers of conductors are required tomorrow, or 20,000 kilometers of AB cable is required in the next 7 days, or 80,000 pairs of polymer insulators are required immediately, or you need 10,000 skilled workers tomorrow. Is there any known template for it? No template. Is there any general financial rule or standard bidding documents or CVC guidelines? Do they provide for it? No, they do not provide for it. Therefore, one biggest learning point from episodes of this nature is that our normal engagement being what it is, even there are reasons for bringing massive improvement. We must have some systems in place for responding to such emergency situations in a standard manner. Now, how can that be done? This is something which I leave for people to deliberate. But how did we do? What is it that we did? about when we were faced with this situation. Now 2 lakh poles, where do we get 2 lakh poles from? Obviously we had to resort to government procurement. Now SAIL manufacturers steel poles. We could talk to CMD SAIL, we could talk to Steel Secretary, we could talk to Prime Minister's office, even they were reluctant. Even SAIL was reluctant that we don't have these many poles. We have our rolling plan, it is fixed, we have this order, that order. We can't change our rolling plan in Rourkela or in Durgapur or Bhilai. But when sufficient information was given to them, they changed the rolling plan of Durgapur and Rourkela, and for 4 continuous days, only the requirement of Odisha was met through a different rolling plan. How do you transport 2 lakh poles from Durgapur to Cuttack to Khurda to Puri in such a short period of time? Obviously, you need an emergency mode of operation. My point to raise this issue before the Manufacturers Association is that please be conscious of this, that there would be such situations where manufacturers would be required to respond on an out-of-turn manner. I give you an example of pole. I would also give you an example of AB cable which Mr. Mishra facilitated. Now all of a sudden we need 20,000 kilometers of aerial bulge conductors. Where do you get them from? And it is not something which can be made, even if let's say somebody is willing to give us at our rate, it is not possible for the manufacturer to manufacture it overnight. It calls for raw material procurement, it calls for some changes in manufacturing plan, transportation is to be organized, and in a situation where, in India, every 15 days some major festival is coming up. Today if you have Rath Yatra in Odisha, somewhere else you are having Eid, elsewhere you are having some other festival. So, generally it becomes difficult for even manufacturers to plan on a short-term emergency procurement basis. We got in touch with some of the manufacturers which Mr. Mishra facilitated, and they said that we have ready stock available, but it has been manufactured, it is embossed for West Bengal, it is embossed for Bihar, it is embossed for Jharkhand. Will you be able to accept this material? A difficult question, you can't have AB cables in Odisha where it is mentioned government of Bihar or government of West Bengal. It is a difficult situation. But you had to do it. We had to do it. We said, yes, of course, we'll accept the first lot of about 1,000 kilometers or so, which came from Capcom, which came from Laser, which came from Luminous, right, Vivo? This is not something usual which we do. Can these become standard practices? Can we always have on our website, on IEEMA website, or on some national disaster website, that this is the ready stock available of some of these critical items at any given point of time? It is on call. Now, if West Bengal can purchase something from Capcom for their own procurement, why can't Odisha simply pick up that material, pick up that rate, and pay additional transportation charges or some handling charges? These are emergency procurement mechanisms. We must have such information systems in place such that when some state is in need of urgent stock of material, at least it is known on a responsible platform, on a mature and publicly known platform like IEEMA. If IEEMA can have price indices, it might also have production indices. Some availability of emergency stock on a publicly known platform so that we can simply access it. That is another suggestion which I would like to give to IEEMA. Now, having had this kind of a exercise where you need massive deployment of manpower, you need an effort to coordinate overnight operations, there must be an emergency track, what is called an emergency track. You have a normal track, you have an emergency track. Fortunately for us in Odisha, since these episodes have been happening so frequently, we have established an emergency track with us. Mr. Mishra would have seen, I think Rajesh was also here for some time, he would have seen that we have a standard operating procedure. The moment something happens, all of us assemble in a control room There is a material procurement team, there is a manpower mobilization team, there is a finance team. Now, material and manpower has been explained by my colleague Sadiq in an elaborate way, but somebody should know what does the finance team do or what does an HR team do. Now, finance team, imagine there are 10,000 workers who need to be paid fooding charges every day. There are at least 2,000 vehicles, tractors, small vehicles, trailers which are moving around 5 of the districts. They need to be paid on a daily basis. Who pays them? Banks are not operating. Cash counters are closed. Where do you draw cash in Puri or Khurda or Cuttack or Jagatsinghpur when telecom services are not working, ATMs are not working, banks are not functional? Our Director of Finance mobilized 2 cash vans. Can you imagine? A power distribution utility organizing cash van which will load 2 crores of cash in the morning, go from point to point to point to point in labor camps, in vehicle camps, and distribute cash to either labor contractors or other workers or other small suppliers. This is something which we organize. This is not known, nobody knows about it. This is a standard operating procedure which we have established. So you have 10,000 people working in a district, Puri. Small district, not a large place. And these people are spread out, right? 4,000 of these people have come from Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana. Another 2,000 have come from West Bengal. About 1,000 have come from other states, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, UP, and rest of them are from Odisha. How do you feed these people? In a situation when a cyclone has struck, no market mechanism is functional. No dhaba, no small restaurant, no roadside stall is functional. These people have to be fed, otherwise they won't work. Our HR team, do we have people from our HR team? Somebody? No. Our HR team, human resource team, who does the, leave sanction for our own employees, salary, payroll. You must be having your own HR teams in your establishments. Our HR team was tasked to set up emergency kitchens. Each kitchen feeding not less than 2,000 persons, 3 in Puri, 2 in Bhubaneswar, 1 in Cuttack, and spread over different areas. How do you organize that? That is another, that's an experience, that's a learning experience, which must become a standard operating procedure. I saw in one place, when this operation was going on, we had to travel, obviously. You have to give, you have to motivate, keep motivating your people. They are working in adverse circumstances. I reached Puri at around 8 p.m. in the evening one day. There is a control room which we have set up. Some of you have visited, I think, Harish, I saw you one of those days. There is a huge tent, right? And there is cooking going on. Do you imagine this is a working site? But suddenly you will have 2,000 people returning from the field and they will form 2 separate queues. I was surprised at why 2 queues are formed. I was told by my HR team, sir, one is the South Indian queue, the other is the North Indian queue. Because these people who have come from Andhra and Kerala and Karnataka, they won't take North Indian food, and those who have come from Bihar and Jharkhand and Madhya Pradesh, they won't eat the South Indian food. So we are, perforce, we are supposed to have 2 different queues. Is that relief code? Is it mentioned in general financial rules or the management practices in a distribution company? No. These are ways, simple but very meaningful insights into how this kind of a massive exercise is to be organized. And we take credit. Number one, we also feel proud of being a part of this kind of a massive restoration effort, which definitely has set standards in our country. And this does not happen on its own. There are intelligent people behind it who have planned it to the last detail. And this is not something which we did for the first time. As I mentioned to you, we have been facing it recurrently. I for the first time was exposed to this situation in 2013 when a filing, an equally disastrous storm hit us in Ganjam and some other districts. Another Hudhud hit us somewhere in 2014, we had the Tickly storm in 2018, and we have this major cyclone which hit us in 2019. So different mechanism of procurement, an emergency track of operation, some ingeniousness in handling resources, financial resources, human resources, is what emergency mode of work is all about. Now, where does IEEMA stand in? Where does IEEMA figure in all of this? That is important. It's an important question which we must discuss. See, today, electrical equipment manufacturing industry is, in our view, one of the most important pillars of our economy, Indian economy. It is, all said and done, power sector is one of the most important sectors. Electricity is a major enabler for growth, and without electricity, no other sector can grow. It is plain and simple, and it does not call for any explanation. It is an axiom we know, all of us know about it. And fortunately, in our country, electrical equipment manufacturing is a mature industry. This is what our view is. In our interaction with electrical manufacturers, contractors, EPC contractors, we are of the view that it is a reasonably mature industry. Those who are in this field, they are all intelligent people who have chosen to come to this particular sector of manufacturing because it provides avenues for growth and development. So it is something which is very important and at a very reasonable level of maturity in our country. Now, there are other sectors of our economy. There is an IT industry, there is an agro-based industry, there is a food processing industry. So then there is an electrical manufacturing industry. There is an automobile industry, auto equipment industry and auto components industry. Similarly, there is an electrical industry. Now, this industry, the survival and growth of this industry is linked to the way our economy grows. These two cannot grow on a non-parallel divergent track. Meaning, in simple terms, it means that electrical equipment industry can grow only if our economy grows, and vice versa. Economy can grow only if the electrical equipment industry grows. This is a kind of what is called a dependency syndrome. In management, we call it a dependency syndrome. One cannot grow without the other, and if one goes down, the other has to go down. We know that our country will grow at a good rate. It has grown in the past, and therefore electrical industry must grow. If it has to grow, it has to come in close contact with those who are actually in charge of, who are manning this industry. And for whatever reasons, good or bad, the procurer side is mostly government, right? Most of the transmission companies, distribution companies, and predominantly, not all, but a very large portion of generating industry also continues to be in government. Which means that the interface of electrical equipment manufacturing industry is primarily with government. Right, Mr. You understand? Is majority and primarily, at least in transmission distribution, it is almost entirely with government. Unlike automobile industry, where primarily the engagement is with private sector, it is private sector dealing with private sector. But in electrical equipment industry, it is private sector dealing with government. Understood? And in this situation, you must have what is called a very, very open, transparent interface with government. And so long as this interface continues to be transparent, continues to be progressive, continues to progress from one level to another, it will be productive, it will be fruitful, meaningful, productive, and satisfying. Satisfying means that you would be happy to manufacture, and we would be very satisfied to procure. This would come from quality consciousness on your side, and quality consciousness and transparency on ours. Let us build upon these ideas. In our engagement, IEEMA must try to emphasize amongst its manufacturers to be quality conscious, to go from one technology level to another technology level, and also educate government and government enterprises, agencies to also progress on these platforms. So, there is something called obsolescence. Right? There is something called obsolescence. Every industry suffers from obsolescence. There is a periodicity of obsolescence. Modern industry, this period is very small. Conventional industry, this period is a slightly larger period. Now let me not give an example from electrical industry, but I will give you two other examples which will make this point clear. You must have heard about PS6, right? PS4, PS6, right? That is in auto industry. All of a sudden everything needs to become PS6. So PS4, PS3, PS2 has become obsolete. Industry must respond. Correct? Similarly in IT industry. Every 5 years the technology changes. Somebody who was manufacturing IT equipment for last 20 years must have changed the product at least 4 times in the last 20 years. This cycle is now hitting electrical industry. This is very clearly hitting the electrical industry. What was being manufactured 10 years ago is not being manufactured now. What is being manufactured today may not be required tomorrow. Next year, this requirement might become different. Look at our transformer manufacturers, Mr. Bodu, OTPL. So when I raised this point of obsolescence, he was smiling because he has been hit by it. I'll give you an example that last year we wanted to purchase. See, every year from government, we purchase about 5,000 distributing transformers from government. Last year we thought that we have been purchasing very high capacity. Let's purchase 16 kVA transformers. We wanted to purchase 5,000 units. We did a procurement tender, many people participated. We also gave an order. But this manufacturing could not start. I was really very worried. Elections are approaching. These transformers have to be pushed into the field. So I called these manufacturers to my office and said, why is it that you are not able to manufacture start delivery? They said that we can't manufacture. It is your fault. What is my fault? That you are yet to approve. You are yet to approve that what technical specification you will utilize for, you will use for manufacturing. Then I asked my technical, why is it that you are not approved CTP and other PS norms? They said that the BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, has changed the standard. And instead of a round tank, now only rectangular tank or square tank is permitted. They said that so be, if that be so, you will go about the rectangular tank. Then Mr. Bodu said, yes sir, they have decided, but they have not yet notified. And it took 6 months for BIS to actually notify a change which should have taken not more than 6 days. Right? This interface needs to change. Electrical equipment industry, it will go from one technology level to another, from PS4 to PS6. We are ready to pick up PS6. You are ready to manufacture PS6. But there is another intermediary who is not accustomed, who is not tuned to this faster response cycle. These things need to change in our, in your industry. Domestic manufacturing capacity needs to improve. This is very important. As an association, I would request you that our dependence of our country on imports of both technology as well as product must be reduced in electrical equipment. I will give you an example from this episode which we had. See, when transmission towers fail, we need to restore them with what is called ERS, Emergency Restoration System, ERS towers. Every state in this in this coastal belt manufacture or keep a stock of what is called ERS. It is mandated. It is mandated by a CEA regulation. That if you have, let's say, 100 towers in your system, at least X number of towers in ready stock must be there with ERS. So states go about procuring from this place, that place. And there are only two. There used to be only one manufacturer in the world. There was only one manufacturer. I just don't want to take names, but there was one manufacturer. And you can imagine, you can understand one manufacturer from some other country to dictate down. Nevertheless, you have to maintain a stock. All of a sudden there were two. Instead of one, they became two. And in a kind of a procurement, one becoming two also is no competition. It does not become a competition. Because in the life of railway station, this platform belongs to something, that platform belongs to another thing. So two manufacturers cannot just say 5 states you will supply, other 5 states I will supply. Both the 10 states are happy that I have had a good competition, competitive price discovery, transparent prices can be taken place, but actually that does not happen. So one platform, 5 states, 5 states. In such a situation, it is only domestic manufacturing capacity which can dent this kind of a monopoly. In our, I will give you an example. Mr. Ji is aware. While we were grappling with this, one good thing which we did was, because Union Power Secretary Mr. Bhala, he embedded Mishra Ji here. Mishra Ji became a part of our procurement team. And Smriti, where is Smriti? Smriti Samasrai, he was officially designated as a member of our procurement team. He was sitting in our control room. He was signing on documents on behalf of IEEMA. That is the level of engagement which we did in this exercise. He happened to mention, Mr. Mishra happened to mention that, sir, we know that you are using these ERS towers. Why don't you give IEEMA a chance to demonstrate a domestic manufacturing capacity? I was really skeptical, because this is a very important equipment, highly sophisticated, and we generally feel that this is so sophisticated, it is coming from only one supplier in the world. It must be something special, super special. So I said, I cannot give you any critical side because I can't take risk in this situation. If the equipment which you want to demonstrate is not successful, it would mean another 15 days of not supplying electricity in a particular area, which we can't afford. But then I thought that our engagement with IEEMA, with Mr. Mishra and Smriti was working so well. I thought that let us use this as an opportunity if something can be done, because we were so harassed by our those platform people, that I thought that let me use this opportunity to at least test water. Can this be done? So I asked that you take one particular site, choose it at your discretion. Don't take the most difficult site, rather take the easiest site, but do it over a period of 72 hours. I will wait only for 72 hours. Give you 72 hours to deploy this tower if you can do. Overnight, they brought the tower from West Bengal, Kolkata, which would have taken about. Where is that fellow? Nandan. Where is Nandan? So he is there, Nandan Mohan. He was in charge of this. He took about 12 hours to transport the tower, another 6 hours for other people to actually agree, our ground level people to actually agree to this kind of an experiment. They said, sir, you are taking a grave risk. We don't advise you to use an untested tower. It has no type test, it has nothing. I said, let us give them a chance. 72 hours is not a big thing in an operation which will continue for about 30 days or so. And I actually went myself. I was so worried that I am taking this risk just to demonstrate domestic capacity, that I went to that site 3 days continuously in the evening. Every day in the evening I used to go to that site just to see whether it can actually happen. And I was so happy, instead of 72 hours, this tower came up in 39 hours. 39 hours. 39 hours is all it took for that PRS tower to be erected, demonstrated successfully. I was so happy that I took the Ministry of Power team which came to that particular site and showed to our Union Power Secretary Mr. Bhalla, yes sir, this is what Indian industry can do given a chance. Give them a fair chance, they can do it. This is another learning experience for us, and I must say that even for IEEMA this must be a learning. See, every adversity gives us an opportunity. As I mentioned to you, what are the opportunities here? Opportunity is to improve our interface, have an emergency procurement track, have emergency availability of equipment on public platforms, have financial systems which can respond to such situations, have an administrative decision-making hierarchy which can procure quickly, as CEO Sadiq very ably demonstrated to you. Also have and keep an eye on domestic manufacturing capacity to improve its technological superiority to go from BS4 to BS6 in an emergency manner. And eliminate incompetencies like, that BIS episode. Now imagine if in this situation we wanted something desperately and the BIS would take 6 months for approving the standard, then you had it. I did it, you have it, you can't give it to me, I can't take it from you, not because there is something wrong between the two of us, because the third party does not realize the emergency nature of the situation. This is all that we have learned from this episode. So we are very happy to be working with IEEMA so closely as we have done in this particular episode. This was just a trigger to have the executive committee meeting hosted here in Bhubaneswar and to also have the buyer seller meet organized here at Bhubaneswar. It is a good place, it is a happening place. Bhubaneswar is the #1 smart city in our country. Other smart cities are also coming up. Just finally, I would want to give you an idea of what kind of business opportunities exist in Odisha for electrical equipment industry. See, we are a growing state. Our economy is growing consistently for last decade or so at 8% plus, which means that our power requirement is also growing. In the year 2000, we had 16 lakh consumers. Today we have 96 lakh. In the year 2000, our peak load was 1950 megawatt. Today it is 5000 plus. And on this 5000 plus, we have an additional 10,000 megawatt installed captive power capacity. So our total power which flows in our system is 15,000 megawatts plus, which is the same as Maharashtra, almost same as Gujarat, slightly higher than Karnataka, and almost. So although in terms of our DISCOM power requirement, we are at 5,000 megawatts plus. In terms of the overall power which flows in our system, it is 15,000 megawatts plus. And this transition has happened over a period of 20 years. All our villages are electrified thanks to Government of India schemes like Saubhagya, Deen Dayal Upadhyaya, RGGY. All our households are electrified. There is no unelectrified village or household in our state. And this has happened very rapidly in the last few years. In the year 2000, we had 63 EHT grids. Today that number is 152 because Jaipatna grid got charged yesterday evening. So we have 152. In the year 2000, we had no 400 kV grid. Today we have 5. We had no 765 kV grid. Today we have 3. And we have a very robust transmission and distribution plan. Our state government has given us a 10-year horizon which started from 2014. So from 2014 to 2024, we have a 10-year transmission and distribution plan which is of the order of 20,000 crores. That means we have to spend more than 2,000 crores per year out of the state government budget. And on top of it, we get good assistance from Government of India. Also, every year in this period from 2014 to 2024, we are spending about 3,000 to 3,500 crores per year on transmission and distribution alone, apart from what gets spent on generation. Our transmission plan is aspirational. We have to double this grid's capacity. The number of grids today is, as I mentioned, 162. This has to come nearer to 300 by 2024. In the year 2013, we had 600 numbers of primary substations, 33 by 11 kV primary substations in the state. The state government is constructing 500 under what is called ODSS, Odisha Distribution System Strengthening Project, and there are many people here who are participating in this growth story. This number from 600 to 1100, from 1100 it has to go up to 2200 by 2024. Every year, as I mentioned to you, we are pushing about 5,000 transformers, distribution transformers in our system. Couple that with growth which is happening on generation front, we have set up very recently in this month, we have commercially operated a 1320 megawatt of our own 2 into 660 megawatt coal-based thermal power plant at OPGC, which is linked to our own running mine, Manoharpur and dip side of Manoharpur. One ultra mega power plant is proposed at Sundargarh. Another of our 3,200 megawatt power plant coal-based is coming up at Dhenkanal, Kamakhya, which is again a state government funded plant. One thing which is very relevant and which is talked about generally, I would just like to end my talk with that particular example. See, our distribution companies were private, they are now not private. They are not public, but they are not private. They are in a different category. In the year 2000, our AT&C loss was 52%. Today, it is 27%. So it is almost quite a good reduction. Out of our 4 distribution companies, 2 distribution companies made profits in the year 2018-19. SESU made a profit of 42 crores in 2018-19. And NESCO made a profit of 28 crores in 2018-19. Our another distribution company, Vasco, has turned cash positive in 18-19, though it has not given us a profit, but it is cash positive this year. Now, somebody would say that your loss levels are 27%, still you are making profit, isn't it? Now, this is quite a paradox in our country. IEEMA should know and should talk about it. We have a few neighboring states on this subject. I don't want to take names. They have the lowest loss in the country, 9%, 10%, 11%. And their state government spends about 15,000 crores every year for only subsidies. Revenue subsidies are given to agriculture and some other consumer. They should be given. But they have the lowest loss, highest revenue assistance from the state government. But today, they have the highest outstanding to central and private generating stations. Those 2 states have the highest outstanding. You go to CEA website today or to APPI website, you will find 2 states mentioned as having the highest outstanding dues towards NTPC, NHPC, PGCIL, Lanco, GMR and all others taken together, but they have the lowest loss. Odisha for last 10 years has not defaulted even for a single day in our payments to generators. Our name is not there on that website, in spite of our distribution companies not getting any revenue subsidy from the state government. This 3,500 crores worth of money which we get from our state government is only for capital expense and not even 1 rupee to subsidize our own internal operations or our power purchase. This is all managed within our system. That is the level of professionalism which we have been able to bring about in our system. Of course, we don't make any big song and dance about it.